Thank you so much, Tim and Stephen, for joining me today. How are you both doing?
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
We are
Good,
stoked
good.
to be talking about Meadowbrook
Yeah.
Theater's season opener, Catch Me If You Can. Stephen, how's the rehearsal process been so far for it?
It's it's a lot. um, in case you don't know, it's a 3-act play, and
Oh, okay.
while it actually probably won't be that long, we're thinking it'll probably be around with 2 smaller intermissions, hopefully probably around 2 hours 15 minutes, which isn't bad. But I did the math. I'm on stage for about 93% of that. It's a
My
lot
gosh.
lot of lines. Thankfully, I knew that I was going to be cast in this role kind of about like towards the end of July. So I've been just running lines and trying to make sure I have as much prep work as I can before we got to rehearsal. We're in our second week right now, and we're clipping along. It's great.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was possible for you to have like more lines and stuff to say than the last, Strangers on a Train.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a challenge for them. I take it. It's obviously awesome. It's wonderful. I'm not trying to take it for granted, but when I did read the play and saw, it's like, okay, as soon as I possibly can, I need to start learning these lines for sure.
Tim, how's the process been for you so far?
It's been pretty good. Sometimes you get into a rehearsal process and it just feels like it's war, but like this has been so great. Yeah, Steven's carrying a lot of this show on his back, and it's really great. I've seen Steven in a couple shows, and I was in Clue with him, and I'm just really excited that I get to kind of be on stage with him and just sort of get to look in those beautiful eyes of his and have some scenes together.
I truly don't know how he has the energy to do half the things that he does on stage, because if it's anything like Strangers on a Train, I'm already
Yeah,
buckled up
I
and
mean,
ready
you
for
get
You're
you
making
get
my
so
heart
you
go
get so
pop. I
amped
love
up for
it.
these things. You got to wonder like what happens when he gets home. Like, how do you dismantle this atomic bomb once you get him home? You know what I mean?
It's a good question. Yeah.
It's a lot of listening to like Celine Dion going home, and just like letting it all
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so Tim, what's kind of the story of
Well, it's
Catch
about
Me If You Can?
an inspector. No, it's I played Inspector Levine, but this is about it's Labor Day weekend. We're in the Catskills, and we have a gentleman named Mr. Corbin who is looking for his wife. His wife is missing, and so this play is about them trying to find Mrs. Corbin, and she may or may not come back. The rest of it, you got to come see. Well, what is this where I point and then the link comes up to buy the tickets? No call to actions, right?
Sure, we'll have it scrolling.
Yeah, I'm very glad you asked
Yeah,
him and not me, because
yeah.
there's a lot that could be spoiled.
um, well, I kind of got that from when
Right.
when they first kind of announced this. I was getting like there's some like Gone Girl, vibes going on here. There's a lot of that mystery that this seems like they really like to start off the season with a mystery. So I can only assume that it is gonna be a train from start to finish. Like you're just gonna get on and get going, and lots of twists and turns. So Stephen, who are you playing, and what is kind of their narrative through the show?
I can give you part of that answer.
Sure, absolutely. Dance as
So-
much as you want.
Yes. So I play Daniel Corbin, an account executive for an accounting firm. And when we meet him, he is 2 weeks into his honeymoon. He has called the local inspector, played by Timothy here, and he tells him that I'm on my honeymoon and me and my wife had a fight and she's gone. She's disappeared. The inspector takes down the notes, says, okay, we'll look in it. And then this woman shows up and says, Daniel, it's so great to see you. It's wonderful to be back. I'm sorry we fought. It's great. And then I say, that's not my wife. I've never seen that woman before in my life. And that kind of sets off a full chain of events of what the heck is going on? And there's a local priest who shows up to offer some consoling to see if I'm okay, and then he gets mixed in it, and then there's bosses and mistresses, and like I said, it's 3 acts. So, and it's Travis, our director, actually said today, he's like, people will think they know what's going on, and as soon as they're like, "Oh, I got it, there it is," it'll be like, "No, we are on a different track. It's completely different in the best way possible. That it will constantly keep you guessing, and the ending will be a nice surprise for sure."
It definitely sounds like this is leaning into that psychological horror side of things.
Very much so, very much so. Like under a blood red sky, you feel like something is going to be happening to you or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and so, Tim, as the inspector, you're kind of, it sounds like, again, dancing around, we don't want to spoil too much, but you're maybe not believing that he doesn't know who his wife is.
Yeah. Levine is, he's part of the Catskills, and I think he's just sort of trying to navigate this whole thing and this sort of like, wait a minute, what do you mean this isn't your wife? And so, as someone who's perpetually at the end of the movie going, wait a minute, what do you mean it was that person or that person? I just highly suggest you start paying attention right off the bat, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That way you can tell everybody around you. I knew it from the beginning what was happening, but it's a lot of fun.
I pride myself on figuring out like movies and shows way ahead of time, so that's taken as a challenge here.
Good.
So, Stephen, what's kind of your process of developing this character? Like, obviously, you get the script. What was it that you really wanted to highlight as you're kind of reading through and seeing who he is?
Excellent question. I am kind of like the everyman for this show. The audience is kind of going along with me on
Sure.
this ride and what's happening. They are wondering, what. Just as I say, she's not my wife. They're wondering the same thing. Okay, she's not his wife. It's almost songs of innocence that I'm putting out there. So as we go along, the main focus I feel was to make sure I'm giving something honest that the audience can believe in.
Sure.
If that makes any sense. There's a lot of twists and turns, and to make sure that they don't get lost in the curves, they have to make sure it's like, okay, he's grounded no matter what's happening with everything else, all this craziness that happens. We are going through it with him. When he doesn't understand what's going on, we're in the right boat if we don't understand what's going on, if that makes any sense.
So you're definitely kind of the vessel that the audience can put themselves in while they're going through this ride.
Yes, very, very much so. Yeah.
And Tim, how about for you? How do you process, like, how do you develop your character and kind of find the narrative arc for yourself as you're making them?
I love finding out stuff in rehearsal. That's one of my favorite things to do. Sitting at home late at night, just trying to cram lines in, then getting to get on stage. I like to associate the lines that I get in the character with movement and stuff, and it kind of comes out and through the rehearsal process. And that's what's been really fun to me, because Levine's a little bit more cynical. He sort of comes from the idea, he's one of those cops that sort of sings more of the songs of experience, and he kind of knows the ropes of the law enforcement world. And so when Corbin has these issues, he's sort of there like, but wait. And so we get to try and follow Levine's logic of like, no, wait a minute, hold on a second. I know how this stuff goes. This is how it should be. This is how we got to do it. And this is what's going to happen. So that's been a lot of fun, especially because we have such a great cast. That's so great to play with. I think you find a lot of stuff through play, and we're able to do that in rehearsals. So finding the character through those moments of play and rehearsal has been very, very, very helpful.
And it's also not like it's not like a huge cast. There's like 6 of you getting to kind of bounce off each other as well.
I don't even know. Jeez, is it? Let me see. What?
Yeah, we have 2 more actors who are joining us next week because they have a later contract. So we haven't rehearsed with them yet.
Oh,
but yeah, us.
Is that challenging?
Yes, Very much so, because while we can kind of do basic blocking around it and things like that, you're constantly thinking, when you get to October, what's it going to be, and then we have to make sure that we get their choices, So,
Sure.
but it'll again, it's Brian. This is one of the toughest ones to talk about, and I want to talk about it afterwards because then you'll come up to me and it's like, how did you have that interview when you couldn't talk about A, B, C, D, everything else? But yes, it was different, but their choices will make it better when we get
Yeah.
them next week.
It's everybody.
I could only imagine how hard it is the two of you are
Yes.
dancing right now.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
just
Tim,
really
you were
fun
saying.
because like everybody, when we get all of our actors there, everybody has a certain note to play in the chord as a whole in a way. And that's what's really, really exciting about it, is that we're all trying to
Sure.
find that note so the whole thing kind of sings. And that's what's been really fun about this. And we can't wait to get our other two actors in too.
I think that also is exciting too because Travis he's directs pretty much everything, but he is phenomenal and he finds those little moments and those pieces with people, and knows exactly how what the vision is, but knows how to let you guys do it. So I'm sure that he's also kind of helping with those two people not there to find those moments and help you sing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we do have interns as well.
Okay.
And they're definitely stepping up and stepping in, and so we can actually block it and see how it's going to feel like until we get the real actors there and the full choices they're going to make.
For sure. So Tim, as you were kind of preparing for this role, and again, I guess you should ask, did you have the audition for these roles? Were you offered these roles? I don't know the process, I guess, with Meadowbrook.
Oh, I did send in a tape. I was like, interested in the season. I've worked here a couple times before, so they knew me. So,
Sure.
I kidnapped several of the staff members of Meadowbrook Theater. I sent a ransom note, just to kind of let them know I kind of got the vibe of the show. And boy, they really thought that was great. And here I am.
Well, I was going to ask you what stood out about the script prior to accepting the role, but apparently it was just the kidnapping people and sending ransom notes.
I love murder mysteries. Murder mysteries are so popular, and there's a great reason why. We always want to play the armchair detective that figures things out in the end, and that's always been something that's very fun to me. And when you can have that moment where you're watching a movie or a TV show or some kind of murder mystery, and suddenly pop, you get it, you understand it, maybe even before they explain it on stage. That's one of the greatest moments. So I'm hoping that we can give that to some audience members with this show.
Yeah.
How about for you, Stephen? What stood out, like when you were reading this script, what stood out to you and you're like, I have to be in the show?
Speaking broadly, it's like you're in the zoo. You rope a dope and you're moving over here, and then you got this going on over here, and when you finish the script, you almost want to reread the script again, because like, now that I know that this,
Yeah.
now I want to see how I can read it again.
Sure.
In fact, there are several times in rehearsal where we'll just, before the scene, we're like, okay, let's talk about this scene, and not just the word. Let's talk about what does every character know what's going on right now. And and a lot of discoveries are being made that way. And at the same time of saying, just as a simple example of like, okay, if you know this, how much can you show the audience? And the answer for us, this is the challenge for you, the answer is 0. Well, we're not giving you anything to really tip our hands. I can think of maybe two lines that I might have.
Yeah.
And if somebody could pick those out, I would gladly shake their hand. Yeah, I'd be very impressed.
It just feels like, there's, for me, I was just talking in rehearsal how last night, we're about 2 weeks into the process. I just sort of found 2 lines myself that really helped me develop my character and how I'm shading the play. Because of course, when you have like, folks are going to come see this, and there's a lot of boom and bam and rattle and hum, but it really kind of comes down to this one thing that somebody said, that one thing somebody said, this one action. So it's really, really for folks that love murder mysteries, for folks that love these kind of detective stories. I'm a huge fan of the Thin Man films from way, way, way back in the 30s. I love that stuff. This is going to be a trip for them. They're going to love it.
So it sounds like one viewing is not going to even be enough. Like one viewing past the original, the first one, to understand and get everything.
We've actually talked about it, and it's like, will there be repeat viewers? Will there be a line? And I say that, there's no line at the horizon. Let's just keep going. If people want to come back and keep getting tickets, like we should give a discount. Second time, half off. Third time, 75% off.
And that's some of the things that we're having fun with, are finding those lines. That's kind of like, we don't want to make this into like a Star Wars thing where you got to read a book to know the movie to understand the comic book. But we do understand that some folks might be like, hey, I want to go back and see if I can figure out and see the things. So we're definitely coloring some of our, just a little bit, just a soupçon of things for those folks who want to have repeat views.
Yes.
But that speaks to also the quality of the story, because if you can do that and it can be visible but hidden at the same time, that's a good detective story. When you don't see it coming, and then you go back and you're just like, how did these pieces go together? Where was this? Where were the motivations and stuff?
No, I was going to say that there are still movies that I will go back to this day. I can watch The Prestige, and I can watch Seven, and they'll be like, look at the way, and it's not even the visuals, but just like the way that he inflected that word, just like now that I know, he's giving the whole thing away just on that one word.
I think the great thing about these,
I love it too.
I just feel like sometimes with these mysteries, there's such great little pieces that when you pick up when, the protagonist or the antagonist, whoever the person is, there are all these little things that you can't leave behind, that they slip up. They say that one thing that they should have forgotten about, and that's the slip up, and that's the moment. And I'm just so excited to get those moments, because I know that with this piece, we're going to have some audience members that just give those sort of like oohs and ahs at those moments. And that's what really makes you feel like you're doing something right, when you get that from an audience.
Yeah.
And I think that is what's so cool about this genre as well. Is just it's always the little moments that you can piece together, and it's not every genre of storytelling can do what a murder mystery detective story, noir. There's something special about that, and that's what I do love about stories such as Catch Me If You Can.
The cool thing, and I don't know if you found this in your research, but Alfred Hitchcock actually had he had the rights to this in the early 60s. He was actually going, when this was still on stage in France, he was going to make this movie right after Psycho.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, I think maybe the play was doing too well and they didn't want to close that down. But for whatever reason, it fell through. But you can look back, and it's in Variety of the time saying Alfred Hitchcock, obtained the rights to Catch Me If You Can. Plan to see that being filmed in wherever, and they would attach some names. Obviously, it never got made. But just knowing that, not just Hitchcock, but peak Hitchcock,
Sure.
That he was interested in that, that's pretty darn sweet.
It makes you wonder too if what came next was Rope, which is kind of the the murder mystery type story.
Oh, boy.
Well, I don't know if Rope was right after it, but that was a play.
Yeah, I think
Rope
I think he did.
Dial M for Murder is a play.
Yeah, no, didn't he do Attack of the Clones after that? I'm sorry, I forget which one was the.
He did Joshua Tree.
That's right. That's right.
So Tim, how has the show really challenged you as an actor?
Lines. It's always the lines. You got to remember the lines. It's incredible. Everybody has their own process, and that's such a nice way for me to make an excuse that I'm still trying to cram a couple of them in. And it's been it's always one of those things. Folks are always like, I could never act. How are you gonna know all those lines? How are you gonna remember those lines? And I'm the type of person. And I've actually never talked to you, Stephen, about this, but I record the whole show so that I can listen to it like a song. It's like learning the lyrics to a song, except the song is 3 acts long, So the rest of it's just cake. It's just fun. you know, getting able to play with folks on stage and being able to, you know, pretend to be
Sure.
someone else for a little while. That's all the good stuff. The hard thing is just the basics of it. It's just remembering the lines. What's your process, Steve? Steven? Steve. What are we, friends?
Uh, oh, you're fine. It wouldn't be great if I turned the camera. You're sitting right next to me. What are you doing? So for this one and for Strangers on a Train, where I feel like the lines have been way more lines than I normally have, I've been
Uh-huh.
doing an app. There's an act, I think,
Okay.
an app. It's called Run Lines with Me. I believe that's what it's called. But basically, you record an entire scene, you read your lines and the next person's lines, and you hold down a button when it's your lines. It remembers this, and then you can play it back, and it will just play the
Yeah.
other person's lines and then leave a
Yeah.
pause for you to say your lines.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, I mean, there's different ways that you can set it up, but I do it that way. So I hear my cue line, there's a little bit of pause,
That's
and
great.
then it'll play the actual line, me saying the actual line. So if it's the other character says, "Hi, Bob," I'll say,
Okay.
"Hi, John." Then I'll hear myself say, "Hi, John." And then it goes to the next line.
That's interesting. That's really
Yeah.
cool
Well,
because
it's also because, you know, it's summertime and I want to study lines, but I was just like, you know what? It's beautiful out. I don't want to be cooped
sure.
indoors. Like, let me do this, record it, just
Yeah.
have it in my, you know, earpods, and then just go out for a walk. So get some sun, but I'm still studying lines. You know, it's absorbing it in.
You know, Tim, I have to say that I always say this, like, I'm not an actor and I don't know how you guys do lines. So the fact that like there's an app to make it easier, like
Yeah.
I would probably freeze up on stage the first time I ever tried because the idea of having to memorize a whole show feels daunting at times.
Well, I think that, yeah, I mean, I think that obviously that is the case. I mean, when you end up in a situation like this, you know, everybody at Meadowbrook is so great. There's no one that's like, there's no dictatorship at Meadowbrook. No one comes out on stage and is like, "Ah, boom, baby." You know, they're like, you know, they're
Yeah.
just very, very welcoming, very, very helpful. And so that leeway is given. So I know that I think they're doing come from away auditions, Brian. I think you just get the app, you throw an audition out there, you
Oh.
never know. You never know.
There we go.
That would involve singing and nobody wants to hear that.
Oh,
So-
look, man, I can't even sing in the shower, and everybody's supposed to be able to sing in the shower. I think you'll be okay.
But Stephen, how about for you? Has the most challenging part been just the sheer amount of lines for the show?
That's been the main idea, the main problem. Just because the sheer amount of them. But once we got to rehearsals and we were doing long rehearsals last week. I don't know if you know this, but we usually had to do 8 hours or 6 hours. And all of last week we did 8-hour rehearsals, 6 days
Oh,
a
wow.
week. And it's just, you know, talking with Travis and feeling out the set and, you know, all the little choices that you make, figuring it out. It's coming together very well. There haven't been any real roadblocks. Tomorrow we have Anthony Guest coming in, who is going to be our fight choreographer. So we're going to learn all of the different fights. Spoiler, there's fights and whatnot.
I was just gonna say.
So there will be some fights, some stage business, some falls. A gun might be pulled out in Act 1, and then we'll see what happens by Act 3. I don't know, Brian. I don't know. I'm not Chekhov. Okay, I can't tell you what's going to happen, but you know,
He is sweating bullets over there, being like, "I'm trying not to say too much, or otherwise Travis is gonna send him an email, be like, what did you talk about?"
Yeah. We still got to
Yeah.
get people interested, though. That's the trick. How do you sell the cow?
Yeah.
How do you sell the milk
Yeah.
without selling the cow? Is that it? Is that the phrase?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You had mentioned that this was a 3-act play. When you guys started that like rehearsal process, was the idea to still keep it 3 acts, or was it already the idea that you were going to shorten it down?
In the past, when there have been 3-act plays, usually they try to cut time where they can. The last one that
Okay.
I did at Meadowbrook was Noises Off, and we did keep the 3-act structure, but the intermissions were only 10 minutes, which
Okay.
saves some time. With this one, we were curious if we were even gonna have some of the scene breaks or some of the act breaks, because some of them,
Yeah.
between the scene break, the next scene will start and it's like, well, it's been 10 minutes and so hasn't happened. It's like, do we need a real scene break? Nothing has changed with the scenery or the outfits or anything. We're literally in the
Sure.
same places. And so we're like, why did the author want it that way? So we are respecting that. So we are having the breaks when they are. Um, but even with that, when we ran it, it's only 110 pages. So it's not super long to begin with.
Mhm.
And like I said, with our initial runs, we're getting it like kind of 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15. And that's with the 2 10-minute intermissions.
Okay.
So
And that's with my overacting.
that
I wouldn't
adds an
believe
extra
you
half
overact
hour.
a day in your life.
So
So it's just trying to. It sounds like you're condensing where it's supposed, like where there can be done.
Yeah, and the script has not suffered. We haven't cut any line from that. We're doing all the scene breaks, all the act breaks, exactly where the original script says. We're just doing 10-minute intermissions, and I mean, even if we were doing 15, we would still be like pretty solid. I always say if you're going to the theater and you're leaving after 2.5 hours, that's not bad, and
No.
hopefully you're entertained at some point in there.
I mean, I've seen a lot of shows, and about 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes is pretty standard
Yeah.
nowadays for like a Broadway show.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
With that structure, Tim, how do you feel about that? Like, do you like having the 3 act structure with the 2 breaks? I'm sure it helps to maybe take a little break for yourself in between.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking about it now. I think I was first going to say, I think it's great because I get to have a little bit more water and a snack between things, but I already do. It's Steven is the one who's just like, I think what we should do is we should have a weigh-in. And what we do is we weigh Steven at the start of the run and then a month later to see how much weight he's lost from being on stage, under the lights, in those costumes, running around with that sense. I mean, he's
Sure.
going to
Yeah,
have
and I
it.
am running around. I was about to say.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a show though you're not running around? Like, I think like every show I see you on, you are from one end of the stage to the other, just doing laps.
I would love to do a Beckett where I'm just sitting there listening to a tape or something, just that'd be amazing.
I think even when I saw Sheer Madness at the very beginning, my friend turned to me and was just like, wow, he's like not running around yet. And then like by the middle of Act 1, you started running, and we're like, there
Give
you go.
it time.
Yeah. So final question for both of you. And Steven, I'll start with you. It's just, what are you hoping audiences take away from this production of Catch Me If You Can?
I think, and I said this to Travis, I think it was the second time I read this script, and I was like, what I really want is maybe 3 or 4 times during the show, I want to hear some gasps.
Okay.
So that's the kind of entertainment we're putting forth, of where the audience doesn't know what's going on when they think they know. And when the audience is with you and you're doing good work and you hear the audible gasp, that usually means like they don't even know that they did it, but they are so surprised that whatever we're doing on stage has surprised them. So I'm hoping for at least 3 or 4, maybe more. So if we can get that from the audience every performance, then I think we're doing our job well.
Tim, how about for you?
I think I want them to throw roses at me at the end. I just want them to be in love.
So I will be bringing you roses now. I hope you're ready for that.
I agree with Steven. Like, I just think it's going to be great to hear those audiences. I kind of got I have a little bit of a unforgettable fire in my heart for Blithe Spirit, which I was in a couple years ago here at Meadowbrook, and that was such a great experience. And it just feels like each opportunity I get here, it just feels like a little bit more. And I'm kind of hoping that I don't know. I don't even hope. I don't even have to hope. I just know that I'm going to come away from this experience being really happy. I think this is a really special thing that we got. I think the cast is fantastic. I'm so lucky to be on stage with Steven and finally like looking him in those eyes, like I said earlier. And a lot of other folks that people are going to be very familiar with at Meadowbrook. Tyrick Quiltes Jones is here. Ashley Wickett is in the show. Phil Jones. Did I say that right? Wow. I've just known him as Phil.
Phil Powers.
Phil Powers. See, for all of this time,
Phil
all
Powers.
I've just known him as is Phil. Because it's Phil. It's Phil. But I'm just excited about it. So, yeah.
You know, I've seen Phil in quite a few shows, and now forevermore, he's always going to be Scrooge in my head. So, like, he's stuck as the perfect Scrooge, you know? Though he's such a sweet guy in real life, so...
Yeah, he'll be back for Scrooge this year.
As he should. He's fantastic. But yeah, there's a lot of great names. When I saw the announcement on Instagram, and I was like, I've seen all these people. I know Tyra Key directed Footloose, but everybody else has been on the stage sometime last season, or the last couple seasons. And so it was just, I think that fans and audiences are really in for a treat when it opens. So thank you both for talking with me. It's been a pleasure, and I'm super excited to see what October holds for Meadow Brook Theater.
Hey, you too. Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Of course, absolutely. So Catch Me If You Can opens at Meadow Brook Theater October 8th and runs through November 2nd. So get your tickets now, and we'll see you there.